Friends, apparently there is an insurrection going on. A massive amount of protests are being planned in the background. They are not going to go quietly into the night, and the deep state is reaching out from its grave through a bunch of useful idiots to destabilize things. And I have a date for you, friends, of when this is going to happen. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and I've been monitoring the Reddits. I've been monitoring the Twitters. I've been noticing an uptick in rhetoric and opposition to the Trump administration, Doge, and all the things that go with it. And I've noticed some of these sites, some of these Reddit threads have really started to explode in popularity, and you need to be warned about what's going on out there. All right, so one that has come up across my path here is something called 50-51. 50 protests, 50 states, one nation, or something like that. Anyway, 50-51. Now on Reddit has 162,000 members. They just started this the other day, and it is calling for mass protests, particularly on March 4th. March 4th, Trump has been invited to address the joint session of Congress. It is not technically a State of the Union, but this is tradition that the new president gives a quasi-State of the Union, even though they're basically to lay out their agenda and their policy proposals, and to try to gin up support in Congress as well as in the nation at large to move forward their agenda. So the plan is that they're going to have a massive protest at the Capitol building. Wait a minute, isn't that treason? You're not allowed to do that. And also in all 50 states, the capitals of all 50 states. And they're pretty serious about this. And they're talking about protests, and let's just be frank about this, they're talking about rioting. So, if you live near a capital, a state capital, you need to be aware of this. If you live near Washington, D.C., you need to be aware of this. And you need to be aware of this because this is they're starting to try to figure out how they can actually tie up and resist and oppose the federal government, the Doge movement, the conservative MAGA movement, and these threads are laced with an absolute hatred of anyone who supports MAGA, anyone who supports these proposals and such. This is serious because, friends, they hate you, they hate me, and they are absolutely calling for attacks and violence against people. You need to be warned about this because half of these posts are calling us 1930s and 1940s German, okay? Or National Socialists, right? The short and form of that. That's what they're calling us. They're saying MAGA is the N-word, the other N-word. And the whole point of that is that it's not just that Donald Trump is evil and doing bad stuff and pushing grandma off the cliff and Social Security and all that. One, there's no election, yet they're pushing. Further, not only that, but they are not going after the politicians alone, they're coming after you. They're saying that you are evil. They're saying that you have finally gone too far voting for this. You are enabling them. So not only are they trying to take these people out, but they're trying to take you out now too. So you need to be aware of this. Okay, let me walk you through a few of the things I'm seeing over here in some of these postings and such. Anonymous, the hacking group Anonymous, has apparently called out MAGA and the Trump administration. They made a political statement against the Trump administration and against Doge and all that. and they basically were threatening to hack the government, hack these politicians and such, or even Elon Musk. So they have weighed in that this is not just supposed to be a peaceful protest or waving signs, but they are actually going to take action against us and anyone who is working to hold the government accountable. Bernie Sanders has suggested political revolution is the only way to stop the Trump dictatorship. Notice the rhetoric here. Dictatorship. The N-word being used. The four-letter N-word, and which we're not allowed to say here, but they apparently are allowed to spread this all over the internet. They are going up to people like you and me, or ordinary folks. If they catch wind, if they see a red hat, if they catch wind that you are a MAGA supporter or a Trump supporter or anything along those lines, they're coming up to you and demanding you renounce the N-word, that you denounce, once again, the four-letter N-word, that you denounce being a democratic socialist or a national socialist. They want to take it out on you. They realize that they can't just go after the politicians, that you and I are the problem. Our votes made that happen, and they are very aware of that. They're talking about getting critical mass in D.C. for March 4th. Hi, brave men and women of the resistance. I am wondering if we can please talk about whether or not it is important to start concentrating our protesting efforts on Washington, D.C., where it may be more visible and or more impactful. My husband and I live about 7 hours away. We have a 10-month-old baby, but we are considering leaving her with grandma and making the drive for the 4th or the following. Gives you an idea of what we're talking about here. This is from one of the watchmen on this channel. We Are Under Siege said, listen to another podcast that had guests who followed the riots of 2020 and protests. They both said that riots are now being planned. I believe this. Democrats keep calling for fights in the streets. And yes, I am seeing that. March 4th is what this is focused around. Calls for 50-51. This is a March 4th protest call to action. In light of yesterday's executive order ensuring accountability for all agencies, as well as the Cheeto-in-Chiefs accepting to speak in front of Congress on March 4th, it seems the only recourse we could possibly have is a mass movement on D.C. during the speech. This is not a call that the D.C. 5051 groups show up in the Capitol and other branches march in their respective state capitals. You can see they're trying to organize here. This is a call for as many of us as possible to converge on D.C. and stand before the Capitol building to make our presence known and felt. Obviously, distance is a limiting factor, and the address begins at 9 p.m. on Tuesday. Does not help. But then basically they're saying we need to show up, and we need to basically shake our fists at the Capitol building and make our presence known. There are numbers here. This isn't just a few fringe people. We're seeing large-scale numbers here. Just a couple days ago, that group is at 162,000 now, was at 147,000. So they've added another 15,000 in just 2 days. I'm sorry, 1 day. It was a day ago. But also, if you look at most popular podcasts, Joe Rogan has slipped to number 2. Midas Touch podcast has become the country's most downloaded and listened to show this month. That's a big deal. We're talking about numbers here, friends. They are definitely trying to figure out how to resist the MAGA movement. They're trying to figure out how to resist Doge. They're trying to figure out how to do what the mainstream media is telling us that is absolutely necessary to protect democracy. We need to support the bureaucrats, the unelected judges, when you support them to oppose the democratically elected president of the United States and both houses of Congress. That's what they're telling us. That's what we need to do in order to preserve democracy. In order to be resisting National Socialism, we must embrace fully socialism. And if you're like, Steve, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Well, that's where we are in this day and age. These people don't make any sense. They protest against crime, against African Americans. They protest against brutality against African Americans. So they went into African American communities and started burning down black-owned businesses. That didn't make sense either. All the things that they do doesn't make sense. There's a lot of fundraising that happens. A lot of people give a lot of money, and then a lot of the money ends up buying Bernie Sanders his 4th, 5th, 6th Ferrari. He's got some really nice cars for a socialist. He's got multiple houses, and how is he so rich? I know Elizabeth Warren and Nancy Pelosi are probably giving him some great trading advice for the stock market. But that still doesn't fully account for how rich Bernie Sanders has become as a, quote, public servant. Public servants are getting surprisingly rich with all this money coming in from dark sources, all these book deals, all of this money that's coming in. Where's it all coming from? Well, it's coming from the things that they're voting for. Now, we got a lot of people out there who voted for these frauds, for all this deep state stuff. They voted how CNN told them to, how MSNBC, how NBC, CBS, all the mainstream TV shows, all the mainstream Hollywood, they all told them to go out there. They were told by the Taylor Swift out there to vote a certain way. They should be at home stocking up at Walmart. They should be getting more prepared at their grocery stores and stocking up on food. But instead, what are they doing? They are out there trying to bring about the destruction of their country. They want to stop the only thing that could potentially save the United States, apart from a revival, which is the only thing that really could save the United States, a spiritual revival. But this Doge thing could potentially help us reduce the deficit and make it so that we can potentially keep this country going for a while longer. But they're out there concerned that a billionaire is going to steal their credit card information and their social security number. The dude that owned PayPal is going to steal their information, okay? Which is ridiculous and stupid on the face of it. But they're concerned about him stealing stuff, but they're not concerned about all these bureaucrats and all these agencies that have been stealing billions and billions and billions of dollars. We just talked about it this morning. United Healthcare Group stole $8.7 billion. The Department of Justice is investigating this right now. The Wall Street Journal reported this. They're kind of liberal, and they reported that United Healthcare Group stole $8.7 billion from Medicare. Trump's not the one cutting $8.7 billion from Medicare. United Healthcare Group is the one who stole that amount of money. Guess who they voted for? Guess which party United Healthcare Group supported in the recent elections? Just take a guess. And if you're guessing towards the left, you are correct. All right. So we got these mass protests are going to happen. A lot of them complaining about how cold it is and saying that it's super important to get out on March 4th. But they're saying that once it gets warm, they're going to march a lot. They are going to take this to the streets once it gets warmed up. So friends, you might be bracing for a summer of discontent. They're planning on rioting in the streets. They're planning on doing a BLM type protests. They're planning on burning the cities to the ground. In their own words, they're going to resist in any way they possibly can, and if that means going after other citizens, going after people they don't like, people who voted the wrong way, or politicians who vote the wrong way in Washington, D.C. All this is what they're talking about. And there's a lot of them talking about this. Now, we'll see what kind of numbers they actually get on the ground, because people on the left, when they have a crowd show up, usually either have a free concert happening, or people are paid, or both. That's generally how they get crowds. There have been cell phone tracking information to show that most of Kamala Harris's supporters, when she was at her rallies, many of them were bussed from one rally to the next rally after the next rally, and they were paid supporters. So, will they actually be able to conjure up a real protest against Donald Trump? In Washington, D.C., they probably will be able to. There's lots of bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. that absolutely are against DOGE and everything that's happening with that. Also, Washington, D.C. City has been in the grips of Democrats for many, many generations. And so the city is just woke through and through. Let's just say there's people on the left would say that there's a lot of diversity in Washington, D.C. when you get outside the government buildings. But I think that we would all agree that it's not very diverse. It's just a lot of minorities, okay? And the crime rates, the violence level is off the charts. So those people, yes, they're going to show up. They're going to be told by MSNBC and CNN to show up and protest, and they're going to do that. There's going to be a bunch of people bust in from the outside. They're going to protest. Yes, they are. And a whole bunch of bureaucrats are going to show up and protest. So there's going to be a big protest in Washington, D.C. March 4th when President Trump gets up there and starts giving some common sense, practical steps that they're going to take with DOGE, with the tax cuts, with the reducing of the deficit, and all these other, what used to be universal things. Donald Trump is not deporting anywhere close to the amount of people that Bill Clinton deported. Bill Clinton deported a lot of people, and yet he wasn't a racist, apparently. I don't know. That's what the mainstream media says. So we got big things on the horizon. You need to be getting prepared for mass protests in your cities and potentially wide-scale rioting this summer. All right, friends, this is your warning. If you want to share this on social media, please go ahead and do that. This is important information. It needs to get out. This is staying mostly in the echo chamber of the left. It needs to penetrate into the echo chamber of the right, because we need to be aware of what's going on over there. The loonies are planning very dangerous things, and they're planning on causing a lot of ruckus. All right, friends, thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.